Ahead of Game 1 against the Los Angeles Kings tonight, the Edmonton Oilers are all in as we get set up for that one, which should be another very exciting series between these two teams. They are no stranger to one another's the Oilers and Kings tonight at the Crypto.com arena, and we are 10 subscribers away from 2,900 on the road to 3,000. So if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that button down below, that subscribe button down below for any and all Oiler content leading up to the beginning of the Stanley Cup playoffs and any and all Oiler news, game previews, game recaps, anything and everything in between. It is all here on the channel. So without further ado here, folks, will you just drop the puck already, will ya? I mean, we are waiting far too long for Game 1 between the Oilers and Kings tonight. We can thank the Los Angeles Lakers for that one, due to the Crypto.com arena not being available until tonight. But at long last, it is finally here. The Oilers and Kings, 9 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Mountain on Sportsnet there in yet another installment of the Oilers-Kings rivalry. Not really much of a rivalry when it's one-sided, but who am I to, get ahead of myself here? And, Kris Knoblauch and the rest of the Edmonton Oilers, they're getting tired of answering questions about, their thoughts upcoming on the series and thoughts about the Kings. But again, these two teams, they're the same, but they're also different at the same time here. The Kings, Andrei Kuzmenko, former Oiler Warren Foegele, Darcy Kemper between the pipes and the Oilers, completely different from last year's Game 7 trip to the Stanley Cup Final. But Kris Knoblauch, his thoughts on the current team, and everybody sort of, overlooking the Edmonton Oilers due to injuries, due to, the lack of, familiarity with last year's team. But he says the biggest ammunition we have is our goal, what we want to accomplish. It's been on our minds for 10 months, since June 24th of last year, being Game 7 against the Florida Panthers, a date that will probably live in my mind forever until the Oilers finally pull it off. Hopefully it is this year, but does being the underdog give us any extra motivation? Maybe a little bit, but I think there's a bigger picture that we want to accomplish. Adding on, I think a lot of people have a lot of questions about our team. We didn't finish as high in the standings. We weren't pulling off as many victories as we had in the past, not as dominant as people were saying, and we're playing a team that a lot of people believe is a stronger, more powerful team that we've walked over before. We're fine being the underdog, being underappreciated. We got some good players. So Kris Knoblauch, not worried whatsoever with the troops that he is deploying tonight for the Oilers. And some notes on said troops here from Tony Burrow of Oilers TV. Edmonton notes, Trent Frederic is a game-time decision. Made his debut against the LA Kings on April 5th. Only played 7 minutes before re-aggravating his ankle injury. But Jake Walman returns to the lineup tonight after missing a few games leading up to the end of the regular season. Brett Kulak is in. He was in Canmore, Alberta yesterday for the birth of his daughter, but he was on a flight this morning / afternoon, and he is in LA right now. So in the lineup, congrats to him and his wife. I mean, it sort of overlooked that, but again, congrats. Some things are bigger than hockey, and that is one. Congrats to Brett Kulak. On another kid there, John Klingberg is out, Evander Kane is out, and Stuart Skinner starts Game 1. And just taking a look at the Oiler lineup tonight, the projected lineup hasn't been officially released by the team, but of course, Trent Frederic is a game-time decision with Zach Hyman, Connor McDavid, and Connor Brown, Vasily Podkolzin, and Leon Draisaitl, who will be in tonight. You can forget about that triangle, above his name. He will be in tonight with Victor Arvidsson on his right side there. He's on the other side of the Oiler Kings playoff battles now, so it'll be, very familiar, but of course, Victor Arvidsson on the right side after all these years. Jeff Skinner, after 1,000+ games in the NHL, makes his playoff debut tonight on the third line with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and hopefully Trent Frederic. If not, it'll be Kasperi Kapanen on that right side there. Trent Frederic is not good to go with Matthias Janmark, Adam Henrique, and Corey Perry on your fourth line there. A very veteran-laden fourth line, but yet a very, deep team. Still no Evander Kane, but very excited to what this Oilers team could potentially do in the Stanley Cup playoffs. On the back end here, still no Matthias Ekholm, but Darnell Nurse and Evan Bouchard, Brett Kulak and Jake Walman, and Ty Emerson and Josh Brown there. So most of the minutes will be eaten up by that top forward, Nurse and Bouchard and Kulak and Walman. No disrespect to Emerson, who just got his 2-year extension there, but it'll be his first playoff game. Some jitters. Josh Brown, in general, not good. So, the weight will be carried by that top four, and I think they have the skills to do so. And of course, Stuart Skinner starting in between the pipes for the Oilers tonight. And here's some bulletin board material that Stuart Skinner and the rest of the Oilers could use. Henrik Lundqvist on the NHL and TNT ranks Stuart Skinner 8th out of all 8 Western Conference goalies in the playoffs here. I mean, sure, the stats can back it up, but I mean, to see, Stuart Skinner go to the Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final, mind you, Calvin Pickard sort of helped the Oilers on the way there, but Stuart Skinner gets the Oilers to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final, and the year after, he's ranked 8th out of 8. So, bulletin board material. Hopefully, Stuart Skinner can turn it on in the playoffs. I've been hard on him all year long from all the videos, throughout the season. Very hard on Stuart Skinner in his inconsistency, but if there's any time for him to turn up his game right here, right now against the Los Angeles Kings is the time to do so. I mean, Stuart Skinner, come on, buddy. A whole city is waiting on you to take over and prove to the world that you can hang with the best there. With Leon Draisaitl in the experience of the Oilers going to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals, says it's nice to have the experience of having gone all the way and understanding the highs and lows of a playoff run. But all that is pushed aside if you don't bring your best game on most nights. So that's our goal starting tomorrow. Bring our A game. Force our game onto them, and hopefully that'll be enough. The Kings, one of the best home teams in the regular season all year long, but the Oilers have some familiarity with the Crypto.com Arena / Staples Center in the playoffs. The Oilers are 6-2. No, I don't know why they have the overtime loss column in here. 6-2 in their last 8 playoff games at Crypto.com Arena over the past 3 years, including a heroic 4-3 victory in Game 7. I should say Game 6 back in 2022 when they trailed 3-2 in the series and had to fight off elimination twice to advance. Some other big wins, in that building. Game 6 in 2023 when Kyler Yamamoto got that big goal with, just a couple minutes left to seal the series for the Oilers. And, of course, in that same series, the Oilers down 3-0 and came all the way back to win it 4-3 in overtime off the stick of Zach Hyman. So the Oilers all too familiar with that building. And despite the Kings having that success in their home rink, the Oilers not letting that get to their heads whatsoever. Just taking a look at the other side here, the Los Angeles Kings, their Game 1 lineup with Andrei Kuzmenko, who's been on a tear ever since being acquired from the Philadelphia Flyers, Anze Kopitar and Adrian Kempe, Kevin Fiala, Quentin Byfield, Alex Ferrier, Warren Fogle, former Oiler, with Philip Deneau and Trevor Moore. That will probably see the Draisaitl line for a good chunk of this one. LA loves their line matching here in the playoffs. It's more so the game within the game here with the Kings and the Oilers, just mentally here. And then Jeff Malott, Sammy Helenius, and Alex Turcotte make up the forward core. On the back end here, Mikey Anderson with Drew Doughty, Vladislav Gavrikov and Jordan Spencer, and Joel Edmondson in Brant Clark here with Darcy Kemper with a phenomenal season here. 31 wins with a goals against average and a save percentage of .922. And he's on a 3-game win streak of his own. His last win coming against the Oilers, the B squad, as Philip Deneau like to call it, with a 16-save shutout there in Rogers Place. And he's also, he has Edmonton's number throughout his career, 13-4-4 in 21 games with a goals against average of 2.22 and a save percentage of .924 against the Oilers in his career. So he will be, the main obstacle here for the Oilers, let alone, Quentin Byfield and Drew Doughty and the rest of them. Darcy Kemper is the man the Oilers have to conquer if they want to, even think of winning this series. And just taking a look at the Oilers and Kings, most, experts have these two teams as completely at opposite ends of the spectrum here, but offensively, creating chances, the Oilers and Kings, very similar. It's just, a matter of finishing, where the Oilers are 3rd in Corsi for percentage, so getting shots on net, but 17th in goals for percentage with a, not even at 50% in expected goals, though there should be a lot more goals going in for the Oilers. Meanwhile, the Kings not too far off with the goals for percentage and expected goals, so finishing is there for the Oilers, and save percentage not quite there for the Oilers. Same with shooting percentage. The Oilers 23rd and 27th respectively in those categories, with a .903 save percentage and a 7.9% shooting percentage. Meanwhile, the Kings top 10 in all of these categories, a .925 save percentage off the back of Darcy Kemper and a shooting percentage of .964, good enough for 8th in the league. And special teams, might make a difference, might not make a difference in this series. Depends on what rule book the referees are calling in this one. But both teams not as solid on the power play as we've been quite used to. The Oilers only 11th ranked. I know first world problems. They are not top 10 in power play percentage, and then the Kings not as strong, 27th. So almost bottom 5 in the NHL, and then PK percentage, the complete opposite. Oilers 16th, Kings 8th with 81.3, and then goals for per game. The two teams very similar, but it's the goals against per game, with the Kings second with 2.44 and the Oilers 14th with 2.87. And there was some wacky stat there where the LA Kings were 41-0-2 when they scored more than 3 goals at home there. So that is just shocking numbers, or whatever the math was. They didn't lose in regulation whenever they scored more than 3 goals at home, but it was something like 40 wins, which is just absurd. But the Oilers, with their backs against the wall, that's when we see them play their best hockey. Going into the Dallas series last year, everyone was expecting Dallas to wipe the floor with them. Edmonton prove them wrong. The Vancouver series, Vancouver swept the Oilers in the season series. Then Edmonton beats them in 7 games. Florida, okay, yeah, no, sure, the Oilers were the underdogs, and Florida, I don't want to say steamrolled them the first 3 games, but when the Oilers were down 3-0, they made sure they made a series out of it. And all the experts, they are pretty much split on this series when it comes to the Sportsnet side. 10-8 in favor of the Oilers there. All the experts, none of them have this series ending in 4 or 5 games. It's either 6 or 7. It'll be a long one, folks. Hopefully it's a long one with the right outcome on top. Now, when it comes to the Athletic, it's a different story. 64.6% of Athletic writers take the Kings in this one. But you know what? There's a silver lining here. 20.6% think the Oilers will take this one in 6 games there. So glass half full, glass half empty. Doesn't matter how you look at it. The NHL.com experts do not like the Oilers whatsoever. There were 16 writers, only 3 picked the Oilers to beat the Kings in the first round there. But Connor McDavid says, screw your predictions and everything else. Let's play some hockey. We waited all year for this. We waited all year to get back to this moment, so we're looking forward to it. Everyone's excited, so it should be a fun one. It's a hopeful time for everybody. Everybody has high hopes for a deep run. It takes a lot of work just to get to this point. All 16 teams believe that they have a chance. All of them believe that they're a good team, and they have all the pieces to do it, and we would be no different. We believe that too. They believe that. Let's just play. Let's see what happens. Very media-safe answer here from Connor McDavid, the hockey player cliche. But yeah, let's just play. That is all we need to take away from this one. You can make all your predictions on paper. You compare the two teams, compare stats. I mean, that's what we've done for the past, couple days. Not much else to do as we wait for this puck to drop. As still have 6 hours until the puck drops on this one. But you can forget about your predictions, your analysis, your stats. Let's just wait until the puck drops tonight, and we will see what these two teams are made of. That is it for today's episode, folks. I'm excited. I mean, Oilers Kings, the Kings in prior years, boring team, not so much. Two teams very evenly matched for each other, and you know what, the Oilers, 7 games. I'm taking this one in 7 games. Sort of bookend this rivalry. The Oilers take the first series in 7 games in 2022. In 2025, the Oilers take this one in 7 games. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. What is your prediction? And who is going to be your X factor for the Oilers in this series? For me, it's going to be a guy like Darnell Nurse. We need him to play his best hockey of his career with no Matthias Ekholm. And if Nurse doesn't get to that level, it's going to be very hard for Edmonton. But take care, folks. Enjoy the game tonight. We will be back with a preview, or not a preview, a recap. A recap tomorrow morning. Should be a fun one to recap no matter which way the whistle goes. But take care. Enjoy the game tonight, folks. Let's go, Oilers. I'm Matt.